Alrighty, let's go ahead and get set up with our inventory. Inventories can be really complex. They could also be really simple. We're going to do a little bit of a hybrid of both because this is going to be a learning opportunity as well as a functional one. So to kick it off, let's just, keep track of what we're doing. And I did want to make a note that we can at some point, you would use like some kind of documentation process to keep track of all this. Um, this is a simple project. We're doing it by ourselves. We could document this later. That's totally fine. Just for now, we're going to be doing this. I think I mentioned that before, but just wanted to make sure. So the way the inventory is going to work is we're going to use something called an actor component. So let's go ahead and go to our systems here. We're going to create a new folder and we're going to call this one inventory. Let's go ahead and go up into it. And we're going to go ahead and do a blueprint class and we're going to find actor component. We're going to type in AC for actor component. And I'm going to call this one inventory. So essentially what an actor component is, and especially in the sense of an inventory, a component is something you just add on to the player. So these are considered components like movement, and then we'll be adding inventory. Actually, let's just do that now. Think of it like a backpack. You as a person, a human being, have your necessities like your extremities, your organs and everything else. And then components can be like, hey, I added a hat, I added a backpack, I added shoes, and they can have different functionality providing with what they're doing. So in this instance, this actor component would best resemble a backpack, if that makes sense. Let's go ahead and open up our AC inventory here. Now, a lot of people do put things directly on the player, but that does get convoluted, and I'm not a huge fan of that because I'd rather just have a component to do it. We are going to want to add a variable here, and we're going to call this currency count. And we're going to change this type to an integer. Go ahead and hit compile and save. And we actually don't really need anything here on the construct script, but we are going to create a new function because this is going to be used by other things we are interacting with, and we're going to call this add currency. Now the math here is pretty simple. We're going to take an input and we're going to go ahead and call this one currency to add, and we're just going to be primarily messing around with integers here. And then we're going to need a return or an output node, which is our return. And we're going to have our new currency count, also an integer. Essentially what we're doing is when we call this function of something else, we're going to pass in, hey, how much currency are we adding? We're going to update our numbers and then we're going to return and say, hey, just let you know we finished this function. This is what your new currency count is. Right? So let's go ahead and take our currency count here, and we are going to add what we're inputting to our currency count, and then we are going to set, again, I'm holding Alt, that value to the difference there. And this is the return. That's just how simple it is. We have our add currency functioning here, which I think is pretty cool. Right? So next we actually need something to collect. So let's go ahead and go here. And let's go ahead and create a new blueprint class. And we're going to call this an actor. And we're going to do BP. Let's just call this currency. For the sake of the toolkit, I'm using kind of universal language here, currency. When you use this toolkit in your actual game, you can call this whatever you might want to, like a coin, a dollar, whatever. Doesn't matter. But for the sake of simplicity in the toolkit, we'll be doing this. First thing is we need a mesh in order to figure out what we're picking up. So I'm going to go ahead and do a static mesh. We're going to call this coin mesh. And I'm going to pick a cylinder. That looks pretty big, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and adjust some of the settings here. We're going to go ahead and bring this to 0.5, 0.5. And let's see, 0.05. There we go. And then we can rotate this. Oh, not on that side. This one? There we go. We can rotate that 90 degrees. So we kind of have something standing up here. Speaking of components, let's go ahead and add something called a rotating movement component. This essentially is just going to rotate our coin for us. Um, Pretty simple. It's going to rotate it on the 180 degrees on the z-axis. So it's just going to spin around in circles. We can go ahead and test that out by adding our currency into the game. Press play, and you could see that it's moving. You could also change the material really quick. Let's just go ahead and do that to something. There we go. That looks gold. Sweet deal. We have a gold coin. And I'm going to go ahead and put this underneath the currency section here. Swoop. Awesome. Okay, next thing we need to do is essentially go to our event graph. Perfect. Let's go to our event graph here and let's figure out what we're going to do on begin overlap. All right, let's go ahead and search for actor begin overlap, and we're looking for it under collision. Essentially, when the player runs into this currency, it's going to pick it up automatically. There is a way to set it up with interacting, and we can add currency that way. That's fine. I can show you that as well. So we need to make sure that the other player is us. Or sorry, the other actor is us. So we're going to cast to our player. There are other ways to validate this information, except we need something off of this pin. So what we're going to do here is, as the BP player, remember we attached our backpack. So let's make sure we get our backpack. So let's find AC inventory. There we go. Where is it? Let's try just inventory. There we go. Get AC inventory. Perfect. So we need to make sure that the player does have this active. This is a check in case something fails. So let's right click and convert to validated get. So what we're saying is, hey, when the player interacts or overlaps this currency, make sure it is the player and make sure that that player has the AC inventory, right? And then what we're going to do is go ahead and call here add currency. And now we get to plug in all of our fun stuff. And for testing purposes, we could do a print string and say currency collected. Awesome. Actually, what we can even do is do this. Format text, plug it in here. Call this currency collected. Sweet. So what it'll say is, however many we collected has been collected just for testing purposes, and call it a day. What we need to do for this coin, though, is actually say, well, how much is this coin worth? So let's go ahead and go to our variables, and we'll say currency value. And let's go ahead and make this an integer. And the thing is, I could set this individually and set it in code, but what would be great is if us in the future or our team or whoever it may be, if we had all these coins here, actually, let's just do 3, space them out just a little bit more. Cool. If we had these coins here, I would like to set it in the actual editor instead of having to dig through the code or find this in a file. So what we'll do is we'll click the eyeball, make sure it's instance editable. We can go back here and on our details panel on the right hand side, we could see currency value is set to 0. Let's change this one to 1. And we could dock this for the moment. Our second coin, let's set the value to 5. And then our last coin, let's set the value to, I don't know, 20. Why not? Doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and click play and make sure we don't have our connections here. That's okay. Probably has something to do with collision. And we're going to go ahead and check on that. Yeah, it is collision. So we're going to go ahead and go to our coin mesh here. Scroll all the way down. We're blocking all dynamic. That's not something we want to do. We want to go ahead and let's just do overlap all here. That should be fine. So that way we make sure we could run through the coin. Great. 0 collected. Collect tread. If you caught that typo before, perfect. We did not plug in our currency to add. That's okay. Let's go ahead and do that now. Awesome. Let's give it another try. 1, 6, 26, 46. And we keep adding up, right? Sweet. So after we've collected our coins, what we're going to need to do is destroy the actor. So we can come back here. And the reason why I was giving the total is because I was printing the new currency account. You could go ahead and do whatever you want here. For now, we'll just keep the currency collected. So we'll change this. It said currency. Let's do currency collected. New total is, let's see, currency total. And then we'll just change this. So control, shift that here. Currency value, we can go ahead and put in there. We'll still keep the print string, and then after that, we'll just call a destroy actor. Awesome. Let's go ahead and try that again. New total is 1. New total is 6. 26. And all are destroyed. Perfect. What we'll do next is actually make it show up somewhere on the HUD. Actually, we might do that a little bit later, depending on how far we want to go. But either way, next we're going to move on to keys and then eventually objects. So these will be a little bit more complex and involve arrays and looping and all that wonderful fun stuff. As a side note, before I forget, let's go ahead and add in here a remove currency. So we're going to right click here and do a copy. I'm sorry, a duplicate. And then instead of add currency, we're going to do remove currency. And then what we'll do here is currency to add. We'll do currency to remove. And instead of this, we're going to switch it out with a minus. And we'll go ahead and exit that. Plug this in here, and then plug this in here. So currency to remove, we're going to remove it from our main currency count here. So actually, we should be doing it vice versa. Currency count is going to be subtracted by the currency we wish to remove. And then we're going to set that value and then return. All right. And that's a very quick way to do a remove currency. So in case you have a shop or something requires a certain amount to get through something, you can go ahead and add this in and then remove it as needed. And then finally, let's go ahead and break down what we did and comment things out, right? So in here, we did our add currency function. We actually don't really need to comment this out. This is self-explanatory. But actually we can, why not? Let's see, add coin value to, let's see, add currency value, right? Currency value to currency count and return that value. Capitalize it, why not? Pretty simple. And then we're going to essentially do the same thing, except this is remove currency value from currency count, return new currency count. Pretty simple. Let's go ahead and go into our currency here and kind of detect what we're doing. And let's break this up. So let's do this. Detect other actor is the player. Check if the player has an inventory component. Make this a little wider so it's all on one line. Perfect. And let's go ahead and adjust this. This is just for debugging. So actually, let's just do a little. This can get messy for a second. That's okay. Let's go ahead and move this. Let's comment this out, and we'll call this debug. We'll move this to red. Doesn't have to be perfect, but that's fine. And then we'll do here. We'll call add currency function, and then we'll add a with value at the end. With value. Perfect. And then finally, destroy actor in world. And that's our breakdown of what we did. And yeah, let's just even this out just a little bit. And then we'll see you in the next one.